My female 26 wedding was last week. It was amazing, except for this issue that occurred that caused a fallout between me and my in-laws. My husband, male 26, has a younger sister, female 19, Cindy, who's disabled and is in a wheelchair since she was 7. I noticed that my in-laws do not treat her as a priority and never take her out of the house or include her in any family events, and instead have her stay at home. I felt bad for her since the day I met her. She's sweet but looks broken and lonely. Mother-in-law started huffing because I tried to get Cindy to join us while eating dinner out or go to the beach. She, mother-in-law, flat out told me she doesn't like Cindy to be outside, to protect her from getting insensitive comments from people, even relatives, but in her tone I sensed that she was essentially trying to hide her. I talked to my husband and mother-in-law about wanting Cindy to be at the wedding. They declined, saying that she would take away the attention when it should be on us, and said that they couldn't stand having guests asking questions, making comments about her. We had an argument over this, and I insisted that she come, and refused to let it go. My husband and mother-in-law finally agreed and said they'd bring her to the wedding. After the wedding, I noticed that she wasn't there as I looked closely. My husband lied, saying they brought her, but she had to be taken to the back to get her medicine. I waited and felt like he and his mom were lying and stalling. I went to ask others if they saw her, and my husband and mother-in-law finally confessed to leaving her at home. I got mad at them, then immediately had someone go to mother-in-law's house to get Cindy. My husband and mother-in-law started arguing about what I did, and said that I was acting recklessly and irrationally. I told them that it wasn't okay that they excluded their own flesh and blood from the wedding, and told them that hiding her and acting like she was something to be ashamed of was appalling. Cindy arrived with my husband's aunt, who was with her at the time, and I had them sit nearby. I made sure that Cindy enjoyed her time despite feeling out of place a bit. My husband and mother-in-law were pissed at me, and mother-in-law said that what I did shows how I will be treating them for years to come, by overriding their wishes and disrespecting them. I told them Cindy's presence wasn't hurting anyone, but my husband said I ruined the wedding by making a scene and fussing over this. This set the tone for the rest of the week. He's still upset with me, and keeps having conversations with his mom about what happened, and making me out to be the disrespectful one in this situation. Not the a-hole. Why do you want to be with this man? Seriously, he's clearly an a-hole. You may be able to get an annulment at this point, and to be able to avoid the whole divorce situation. Think about this. If you were to have a child with a disability, how will he and his family treat them? You know, this is wrong. We have not heard from Cindy in all of this. We don't know what Cindy wants. She may have problems that have not been shared with OP. She may hate crowds. OP is like, I want her at the wedding. You are not treating her well. She never says she talked to Cindy or asked what Cindy wanted. She just assumes a whole bunch of stuff, and she overrode Cindy's caregivers and stomped all over their boundaries. OP may be a bridezilla here. We have no idea. People always paint themselves in the best light. I hear a whole bunch of people telling Cindy what she should be doing, and no one asking her. So, a few years ago, I've bought the old car for my dad. He bought a new one, and mine was on its last leg wheel. Since I'm comfortable with that car and knew my dad was the only owner, I bought it. Note, I'm very stupid and thought he changed the title into my name, but that never happened. It's not a pickup nor a van. It's a minivan with a big trunk. You can get loads of stuff in there, and even sleep in it if you count to the smaller size like myself. Anyway, since I still live at home, they use my car like it still belongs to them. I've told them many times that I don't like it how they use it, but they'll get mad, say I don't do anything, and can at least lend them my car. Sometimes they ask, sometimes the car's just gone and I can't go to my friend like we planned. When I say no, they'll get passive-aggressive and start guilt-tripping me. After everything I've done for you. If my sibling or friend needs larger stuff moved, like a shelf or so, they use my car. Bought new tires, a fridge, a washing machine, they use my car. My sibling and their drunk friends need to get picked up from a party. They need my car because it can fit 6 people in it. Doesn't matter that they called it ugly before and would never even drive it. If there's a garden waste to dispose, which car do they use? Exactly. Mine. They try to not make it dirty, but it still gets dirty. But what bothers me the most is that afterwards, it stinks like manure and has insects in it. I pay for gas, insurance, and all the other stuff, but it's still not my car. I'm very attached to my belongings and treat it well. Doesn't matter what it is. Since I was a kid, my parents always forced sharing on me. Wouldn't mind letting my siblings or cousins play with my toys if it was my decision. But getting the toy ripped straight out of my hands and wasn't allowed to complain because they would say how selfish I am, and then getting a destroyed toy back, is frustrating. This car is my biggest and most expensive belonging. It's an older model without much technology in it, and I like it that way. I don't want a different car, so I try to treat it well that I have it longer. Yeah, I'm sentimental about it. Today, I had enough. The following story broke me and I started crying. My aunt called and demanded that my mom drives her with my car to help her with the carpet. My mom asks me. I say no. Aunt gets all pissy and angry. Why? First of all, Aunt has a car, but it's currently under repair. She knew about the carpet since 2 weeks, but suddenly it's important to her when her car is at repair. Second, the carpet isn't that big. It comes in pieces that fit in a regular car. Third, they have more cars than the one that gets repaired, and they also have a trailer. They kept pressuring me and I couldn't anymore. I started crying. Why is it always my car? Why can't I have that one thing? My siblings get to have 2 cars in their name, and no one uses these cars except them. I said if I ever buy another car, I get the tiniest car in the market so they can't exploit and use it. Despite the fact that I feel unsafe in such small cars. My mom just stood there watching me. I love my car, but I hate the shared crap so much. If my dad sold the car to a stranger, they couldn't access it anymore. But this is different because family. I'm so done. Cut your losses. Buy a different car by yourself. Cancel insurance on the car that is still in your dad's name. Tell them that you did. Do not renew the license on it since it is in his name. Sooner or later, they will get caught driving without insurance or proper licensing. Gas? They have to buy it. Maintenance. It is in your dad's name, so it is not yours to deal with. Do not let anyone borrow your next car, and keep the keys with you at all times. If they do somehow take your car, call it in as stolen. They are simply taking advantage of you. Time to cut those strings. You are the adult here. Tell your dad to sign over the title now, or you want your money back and we'll cancel the insurance and return the license plates. Right now, you have all the liability and none of the security. My husband, 30 male, used to be my boss. About 9 years ago, I started working as his assistant. We spent about 2.5 years ignoring our mutual attraction until we gave in. We then went to HR, who reassigned me, and the whole thing was strictly above board from the time we began dating. I got pregnant about a year later, and my husband and I decided to just get married. While we'd only really been dating for about 1.5 years, we knew each other completely, loved each other, lived together, and there was a baby on the way. We knew how it would look, but I had to leave the company anyway due to problems with my new boss, so we didn't anticipate this causing any issues, except with my parents. They, 62 male, 57 female, have always been overprotective, so I knew they wouldn't like me dating my boss, and hadn't told them, but I had to tell them if I wanted them at my wedding. We decided to be mostly honest with them, about how it was strictly professional until it wasn't. How the second it got unprofessional, we went to HR. How he had never taken advantage of me, but now he wanted to get married and we wanted them there. We did not mention the baby because I felt like giving them that information in addition to the rest all at once would just break them. I was only about 4 months along when the wedding happened, so the bump was easily hidden by a flowy dress. The wedding itself went off without a hitch, and apart from my mother pulling me into the bathroom shortly before the ceremony to ask if I was sure about this, which I said I was, my parents seemed to take it well. The ceremony and reception were at 2 different venues, and we had to travel from one to the other, and my parents never arrived at the reception. I called them and got ignored, and then my brother called them, and they told him that they were going home. I don't remember the exact reason they gave, but it amounted to them being tired and uncomfortable. I tried contacting them after the wedding, but found that I was blocked on everything except email, which I used to send them a long letter, essentially saying that I'm an adult who made an adult choice, and I hope they can respect that. 5 years later, I have not heard from my parents since my wedding. My husband and I are not big on social media in general, but I recently posted something for our 5th anniversary, and which I mentioned our 2 kids and third one on the way. Within a month of making this post, my parents left a voicemail saying they saw the post, and having had no idea that they had grandchildren previously, now want to meet them. I haven't responded, and there have been a few follow-ups since then asking why I haven't. I don't know what to do, but my gut instinct is that 5 years is too long, and it's about the kids, not about them respecting my choice as a relationship. However, I can't help but feel that I'm being unfair, and my brother agrees, because I told them in my email that if they could learn to respect my choice and my marriage eventually, then we could talk, and now I'm retroactively applying a time limit. Edit. My husband is not white. I am, as are my parents. I don't think that this is a race thing, or that my parents are, and neither does my husband, and we don't understand why they would want to meet our mixed-race children if they were are, but this element is still gnawing at me. Should I reach out to them? And if I did, how long should we go about rebuilding the relationship? What kind of parent ignores, no, literally ghosts their daughter out of the blue, only to return once you've had grandkids? Would they have still reached out if they didn't know about your grandchildren? I hate to say this, but there are so many red flags through this thing. I'm quite concerned for the safety of your children as well, honestly. If you, your kids, and your husband have been living happily these past few years, please reconsider doing this. It's quite absurd these people would abandon you. You, not just a distant relative, but family, a daughter, so quickly, especially over such a trivial matter. So put the safety, happiness, and sanity of yourself, your husband, and your kids first. No need to open a wound already stitched shut. You'll just be poisoning yourself. I know they're your parents, but I just can't see anything good out of their behavior, or anything that may come out of this. Edit. Even if you feel regret, and you think they do too, please keep your kids far away from them. If they want to reconnect, it'll only have to be because they want to talk to you, not to your impressionable children. No need to tell your kids about this also. I genuinely have a terrible feeling about this in particular. Update. I asked to talk yesterday. We were on a Zoom within an hour. It was my parents and me and my husband. They asked to see the kids, and I said that they could see them eventually, dependent on them earning our trust and convincing us they were going to be positive additions to our kids' lives. They asked to start by reading me a letter that they claimed to have written on my wedding day. It said that they were uncomfortable with me marrying my former boss, as they thought he took advantage of me. So they left between the wedding and the reception to avoid a scene, but they wanted me to know that they were here for me despite their issues with him. They added that they would have sent this to me the morning after my wedding, but then I sent my email about them needing to respect my choices, and they were so ashamed they couldn't bring themselves to send theirs. Seeing my anniversary post made them realize how much they've missed in 5 years, and they really don't want to miss any more. I had some questions, like what the big deal was with me marrying my former boss, and they said that it just wasn't what they had in mind for my wedding day and my future spouse. I asked why they even came to the wedding at all if they didn't support the marriage, and my dad responded that he wanted to walk his daughter down the aisle, as it was the only chance he'd get. The way it was phrased implied that they had intentionally only come to the wedding so that he could give me away, and always planned to leave halfway. And because he said, "my daughter," and didn't talk to me directly, it was pretty clear he was thinking about my older sister, who passed away. My husband caught that too, and said that if they were talking to me, they should address me directly. Then added that if they had planned to leave, they should have told us, as we wouldn't have invited them. And the fact that they waited 5 years to reach out was going to take more reason than shame. As a father, he didn't understand how they could ignore their daughter for years, or only get back in touch when we had kids. My dad snapped that he wasn't going to take this from a kushi, a slur meaning dark skin. My mother immediately tried to run damage control, but I ended the call. They have since messaged me several times, trying to explain that calling my husband a racial slur wasn't indicative of an R attitude, and he wouldn't have said that in front of the kids, so they should still get to meet them. I've spent 5 years wondering how they were so offended by me marrying my boss that it earned no contact for half a decade. Turns out, there just are. It's almost nice to find out. If it were just the boss thing, I would have sympathy for them, and we might even be able to reconcile. But with this, it's now just a question of if I'm going to knowingly expose my mixed-race children to a couple of R, which I'm obviously not going to do. Sometimes we need to cut out people from our lives to protect who we are. This time, you are doing that and protecting your family. They have shown who they are, and cutting them out can mean cutting out the toxicity. Yes, forgiveness is something we should all strive for, but sometimes we just don't need that negativity around us.